delays in admission letters or even in I-20, like what would you have to tell them?
Right now, our processing center is receiving thousands of applications, both from American citizens and international students. So it sometimes can be like who's in front of you in line. So undergraduate's pretty straightforward. We're looking for the equivalent of a 2.6 out of 4.0 GPA. Scholarships can go up to 50%. They're automatic based on the student's GPA, and then also SAT or ACT. So if we look at like just in the United States, the 50 flagship universities, we are by far the most affordable for international students.
Would you boast of the fact that USD has a high visa approval rate?
I would say yes.
Okay, McCray, can I go and work off campus and stuff like that? What could be the repercussion that a student will face like that?
Our obligation is that we have to cancel an I-20, and repercussion would be students have to depart the country in 24 hours.
24 hours, even before they knock at your door. What's up, my YouTube family? Many thanks for coming back. So you guys requested for this particular one, and then the team and I, we've been able to make it happen for you. So this time around, I have here with me in our studios today the director of the Gallagher International Center. There is now a new position, but I'm going to leave that for him to actually talk about. I'll leave that for him. But many of you have also been asking, McCray, how were you able to become graduate administrative assistant? So this is the man who actually saw whatever that McCray is made of. Some of the things, I would say I had them like personal skills and stuff from Ghana, but I didn't know until he was able to point it out to me. So actually the very first email that I received from him, not before I came to US, but whilst I was still a student here, I have the email printed here. I want to read that to you, right?
Okay.
So it says that, McCray, I've been impressed to see how much you have dived into life here at USD. It got me wondering if you would like to be an international ambassador for our office. That is the Gallagher International Center, right? So more info below. As you may remember from your orientation, the GIC, that is the Gallagher International Center, has had 10 to 12 student ambassadors to assist with making the day go smoothly. So he went ahead to just let me understand whatever he wanted me to do with the office. So I was just wondering, how was he able to notice all these things about me? But today I have him in the house with me. You guys wanted him to come and just have a chit chat and also to answer some of your questions. So I'm just going to go to him, and then he would introduce himself, his role at the school here. I'm talking about the University of South Dakota, which is the flagship university of the state, and then we'll dive into the conversation. I even forgot to do my introduction, but I know at this point it's not necessary. Why I have the biggest person here with me, so I'm going to dive into the conversation. Just have him introduce himself. Boss, thank you for coming. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, McCray. It's good to be here. That's quite a great introduction. You've done your homework, so
thank you so much. You taught me well, so why would I fail you whilst you are here with me?
Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to basically introduce yourself, your name, and then the position you occupy here at the University of South Dakota.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Patrick Morrison. I am currently the Assistant Vice President for the Gallagher International Center, as well as graduate and online enrollment here at USD. I also might have a team in the Enrollment Processing Center that basically helps the ship run on time, applications get processed, all of that stuff. So that's kind of my role. I started way back in 2015 as International Student Advisor. So, and then I kind of, basically, if you stick around long enough, I guess you move up the chain.
2015, so, I think I was in about level 200 or 300 in undergrad way back in Ghana. So I didn't know what was happening. But because I'm used to interviewing students here, so I was tempted to first ask you, how many schools did you apply to?
So I applied for undergraduate. I applied to 2.5 schools. So
Really?
I started the application to the University of Notre Dame and realized quickly I'm not smart enough to go to Notre Dame. So we stopped that. But I applied to the University of South Dakota and South Dakota State University. And then I ultimately chose USD, and I graduated from here in 2011. And then I went to law school at the University of Kentucky, graduated in 2014, and then moved back and started working at USD.
Somebody would ask you, why did you settle on USD? Why did you, I mean, you had your undergrad here and stuff like that, and you came back here to even work. What is the particular thing about USD for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a family affair, I guess we would say. So my great grandmother attended the University of South Dakota in the 1890s, and then I had a grandparent go here. Both of my parents and all of their siblings went to USD, and then so yeah, I'm a fourth generation Coyote, so to speak, and also the fourth generation of my family to work in some capacity at the university. So I had and she's like a great aunt or some great aunt who is the first art professor here. And I grew up near Vermilion, so for me it's home. But I think the university itself, I just look back at, you know, the opportunities that I had, and like more important, I think that my friends have, and see where their great careers. But I think it's just it's kind of a family business, basically. Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. So now we want to get into the questions that most of our prospective students, because when I actually alerted them that, hey guys, the director says he is coming. So if you guys have any question, let us know. And we received, trust me, a lot of them. So this is not the time that you need to stay glued to this video, get the answers for whatever that you've ever been requesting or asking us to get for you. So we'll dive into the timelines of admissions and many other things.
Sure.
So one of the problems that that these undergrad and then graduate students they've had, the frustration, the questions they've been asking is delays in admission letters, or let me talk about decision letters, or even delays in I-20. Like what would you have to tell them when it has to do with timelines and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think first on admissions, I mean, we have to understand, let's start with the postgraduate. So firstly, like, you know, your application's complete. Well, where does it go? It goes to an academic department for decision, right? So you're applying to the business school, it goes to the business school faculty. They're the ultimate ones that make an admission decision. So I think it's important for applicants to understand, are they applying to a batch program? By that I mean, the department will review all applications at once on a specific date. So you could apply 4 months in advance. It's just going to sit in a big, you know, not literally a stack, but a digital stack. And then the faculty will get around a room and they'll go through and score the applications and release all the decisions at once. Other departments like computer science, business, they do rolling admissions. So it's typically, you know, business school can be as little as 1 or 2 days, maybe typically a week to 10 days. You know, so depending on if these are USD specific questions, but you also have to understand there's literally thousands of universities in the US, they all do it differently. Undergraduate level, it tends to be, you know, ebbs and flows, right? So there's times when we're reviewing applications and it can be similar where right now, you know, our processing center is receiving thousands of applications, both from American citizens and international students. So it sometimes can be like, who's in front of you in line, right? You know, if you show up at the airport 4 hours early, you might get in there, but if you're waiting the last minute, you're in the TSA queue or whatever, it's there. So, and then I-20s are the same sign, right? It might be that we did have a bottleneck, for example, at USD around August into September, where we were busy welcoming our biggest ever international intake, but those are students here. It's like, you know, you're right here. I'm going to make sure that you get your questions answered. My email inbox might wait a little bit. So we get a little bit of backlog. So I think it's important just to understand that, but email the university and say like, hey, what's a projected timeline for this? And they'll tell you. You know, they'll say, hey, we're really backed up right now. This is the expected timeline, and there's sometimes we'll say, yeah, we'll get to it tomorrow.
So that actually means that, let's say the Beacom School of Business right now, for example, let's say they have a particular date that the faculty will have a sit-down meeting to basically review all these admission letters, right?
So
applications.
No, the Beacom School of Business, they do rolling admission. So it's basically multiple times a week they're looking at applications. I can think of, for example, maybe materials chemistry, PhD. like they're going to have very few number of seats available, right? And so they're then going to say, okay, we're going to admit 5 students, so we're going to wait till our priority deadline, then we'll start reviewing applications, and we'll release decisions essentially all at once.
Yeah.
And then there might be a wait list or other things.
So is it the same thing with College of Arts and Science, that is the computer science, and let's say even nursing and stuff like that?
So computer science at the postgraduate master's level, yeah, they, it can, right now they're going at 3 to 4 days turnaround, but it can be a week to 2 weeks or longer, really just, because also faculty, these are people teaching classes, they're doing their own research, right? So if we're over summer break and they're not around, delays are going to be longer. So I think that's where it's important for students to be communicating with the,
maybe staff of the international office or
exactly, and just say, hey, I'm looking at applying, what's a typical turnaround? And we'll be honest and say, well, you're applying very late in the deadline, so it's kind of like, basically we're throwing the dice, and where they land, it is what it is.
Okay.
But generally, I mean, our turnaround times, I would say, I feel pretty confident when we compare it to our peer institutions. Certainly there are others that are faster, but I would say we're faster than the majority of our, when I'm talking to colleagues at other institutions. But,
well, that's good. So right now, are we done with the spring 2025 applications? Are we done, for example, if somebody wants to apply for the spring 2025 semester, are we still having any doors open for that?
No, unfortunately, they closed all within this month. Computer science closes November 1st, which I'm guessing by the time this airs, we will. But everything's open for August intake. And I would say with visa...
That is for 2025?
Correct, yeah. So that's open now, and that won't close until May 1 or June 1, depending on what degree level the student's applying to.
Wow, because somebody actually just asked a question before you came in that they saw that we are ending or closing the door on the 15th of November 2024 for spring 2025.
That is for I-20 issuance.
Okay, yeah.
But if they haven't yet applied to us or received an admission offer, it's basically we've missed the boat.
So now we are looking forward to receive applications for fall 2025.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, good. So I want us to basically now talk about the some admission requirement. Let me not even say some, because everything is now done holistically. So, so undergraduate right now, somebody wants to apply for the fall 2025. What should this student look out for?
So I'll start with the undergraduate and then go to postgraduate. So undergraduate's pretty straightforward. We're looking for the equivalent of a 2.6 out of 4.0 GPA, which
2.6.
Yep, out of 4.0. So that would be, a B minus C plus average. If we're talking about the WIAC results is kind of what we'll do, and we'll convert that to a 4.0 if a student did Cambridge, International Baccalaureate, or really any other national curriculum. So we don't really care, we do not care what the curriculum a student did. We're not going to say this student did the WIAC, this student did a NECO, or this student did the Cambridge, we're going to prefer the Cambridge. No, we convert it to a 4.0 GPA. And then we look for English proficiency. It really depends on the curriculum and where the student's educated. So Ghana, Nigeria, no English exam necessary. If a student's in Cote d'Ivoire, because it's French-speaking country, then they would need to prove English proficiency. So, and that's through like a TOEFL IELTS. At the postgraduate level, we have almost 80 graduate programs. They don't quite do it 80 different ways, but it's pretty close. So typically, we're looking for a 2.7 out of 4 from a university degree in English proficiency exam, but we can again waive it depending on the country. And then a resume and CV. Some departments require letters of reference, statement of purpose. Very few programs require the GRE anymore.
So the recent interview we had, there is this student who said that while she was applying for business analytics for the semester, in the requirement, she just got to see that there was no recommendation letter required.
Correct.
There was nothing like GRE, no statement of purpose. In fact, I personally freaked out. I'm like, no, because I wrote it. The producer at the time wrote it. So why didn't you write? Was I getting cheated or something?
No. So those changes occurred. What year? We're in 2024 right now.
She started way like in December 2023.
So kind of in mid 2023 for the business school, and then well, about that same time, kind of mid-2023 for computer science and business. Ultimately, the faculty, when we said, like, what are you ultimately looking for for a decision? And they said, primarily, we're looking for academic ability and, you know, supplemented by work experience. So if a student's maybe academically not as strong, but they have good work experience. That's what we're ultimately looking for. Statement of purpose, letters of reference, they said it really wasn't what their main focus. So that's, we, you know, kind of lean management 101. If it's not value added, get rid of it, right? So that's kind of why we went to that. But there are departments, for example, like chemistry, psychology, that they have 3, if not 4 letters of recommendation, statement of purpose, and those are very, very important in the admissions process because, you know, they're expecting everybody to be stellar academic students, but then also, like, why do you want to come to us and, you know, sit in my lab next to me for 2 years, right? You want to make sure there's a good rapport there.
Well, that's good. So I want us to now go and get more into funding opportunities basically here at USD for international students pursuing undergrad and then graduate programs. I know of a couple of them, but then again, we still receive these questions that, McCray, can you guys elaborate on some of the things that we can benefit from, like international students, when it has to do with funding? So I wanted us to touch on those available for undergraduate student or prospective undergraduate students at this point?
Yeah, so students, so first we'll start off, I think it's important when we're talking about North American education, so US, Canada, and really any English speaking, the major, like UK, Australia, New Zealand. When we stack up where we are at tuition fee wise, $12,942 as of today. You know,
so are we expecting some increment there?
$12,942. Yes. So if we look at, like, just in the United States, the 50 flagship universities, like we are by far the most affordable for international students. We're much less expensive than almost every Canadian university. We're the same basically tuition fee what a UK student, an English student would pay at English university, and then internationals on top. So we start out in a very affordable place. Scholarships can go up to 50%. They're automatic based on the student's GPA, and then also SAT or ACT.
So for the undergraduate student right now, if your GPA is for example, we converted on 4.0, right? So if it is around 3.0, you should be assured that you're going to at least receive automatically, like, some sort of funding.
You'll receive, let's say, $1,500 automatic at a 3.0. And then it goes up to about $3,000 to $4,000, depending on you know, a few factors, but, you know, so the typical student on their GPA base that we see, because I think our average GPA of entering students is like a 3.4, 3.5. They're sitting at around $2,500. So that gets them close to about $10,000. And then students don't have to take the ACT or SAT exams, but they can get additional scholarships up to $2,500 depending on their score. And I highly recommend students that want to, if the United States is their #1 or even #2 study destination, they should take the SAT exam. Just because it's gonna, there's a lot of help there. I think it does help a little bit in the visa interview. I think it helps with scholarships. You know, it's just a good thing to take.
So when we say SAT, this is for the undergraduate student, not the graduate student.
Undergrad. It's basically, so in the United States, the vast majority of high school students take either the ACT or the SAT exams in their junior or senior year of high school, and that's basically their entrance exams into universities. Some universities require them, some don't. USD kind of requires it, but it depends. We don't require for international because we know not every student has access to it. But most countries and most cities are, like the larger cities would have the exam on offer.
That's good to know. So guys, I'm sure you're paying close attention. So if you're an undergraduate student, basically if you want to get more of the value, I'm talking about financial terms, you may have to look at studying so hard. If you are yet to complete and write your WASI exam, make sure to study so hard just to get that higher mark, because we will do the conversion. If you're up there, you get some money, but if you have the SAT, as my boss said, you're still gonna get something a little bit more. I hope that's the message, right?
Correct.
Good. So when we move to the graduate students, what, apart from graduate administrative assistant, graduate research assistant, or teaching assistant, apart from that, what is available?
So we are kind of, it's an all or nothing approach, right? I mean, and students either receive one of the GA positions or they don't. And so that's our main funding model as an institution. So and each university does it differently, but that seems to be the standard way, at least at a public university. I'm sure there are some universities that offer more scholarships, but but that's how we handle it. So so I would, again, that's where I point out, especially for a master's degree, it's still $12,798 or something. I don't know what the exact number is, but $12,800 a year times 2. It's a pretty good deal. But then if you got a GA, of course, it's a great
thing, right?
Yeah.
So currently, I think for the graduate assistant financial value, I think the contract covers about 63% or so, right? And then I think, of course, as you're working, you receive your stipend, so you're able to use that stipend to, help yourself with other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to, in terms of the financial document that a student would need to get I-20 and stuff like that, what advice would you give? The basic requirement, because I know right now on the I-20, it's almost 25K. Right? Would you say that as we are going for this visa interview, we should provide, because of course the international office, I'm not sure you guys should care if we provide the exact amount. Would you say that a student should probably have something double of that amount on the the bank statement or stuff like that, or maybe just a quarter of that, or what?
I would say, so for visa purposes and for I-20, we need to see the magic number of whatever it is, right? So it's basically the I-20 cost minus any GA or scholarship for undergrad. That's the magic number we need to see. As long as you hit that number, I don't care. I've seen bank statements that I'm like, whoa, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've seen some that are right on the dollar. So we don't, as an institution, care, right? We only care because the federal government requires us to care, right? We want you to be able to show that you can fund yourself, but how you show that, it's mostly liquid funds or a loan statement or something. At the embassy or consulate, I think the more important thing is they really don't look at bank statements. They're not going to say, in very rare cases would they say, show me your bank documents. Usually they're going to have a conversation because they're assuming that we check that. The more important thing is they want to understand, basically based on your family background, or does this make sense that someone from a particular country whose family does a certain thing, would they then have money to be able to send a student to the United States? And I see that where students or applicants, they might just say, well, my dad owns property. Well, does your dad own a flower shop, or does he own 100 flower shops? Does he own one apartment building or 50? Well, my dad's a doctor. Okay, where's your dad a doctor at? Is he at the very nice American European place where all the president of the country goes, or is he at the local place down the road? So they're trying to assess, based on family circumstances, they're less obsessed about the piece of paper, and it's more the bigger story. Does this make sense in the context of the country that this family would have money to send their student abroad?
So this is actually a tricky one, right? Have you ever received a certain bank statement? Let's say this is 25K that the school we need, but you just received this bank statement from, for example, somebody from North America, West Africa, or maybe from India or wherever, and then you saw that on the bank statement it's like 150,000 US dollars. Has he ever triggered you no guys, team, Matthew, Alex, we need to dig into this? Probably this guy is providing us some something that just to get under the wheels or something. Has that ever happened to you before?
We have certainly, we have our staff, from the moment a student applies with their academic documents, we have several individuals who are very well trained in verifying and finding fraudulent documents. It happens, right? And same thing on financial, we tend to you look at it, you kind of know when you see it, there's something about this that doesn't seem right. I wouldn't say it's so much a dollar amount, it's more of the formatting of the bank letter, or is there something about it that looks fishy, manipulated? And so that's where we might go back to the student and say, especially if they have a letter that says this account was started here and has this much money, we might say, okay, we need 3 months of monthly statements to back that up. Or we might, in rare cases, email the bank. So we do our due diligence. But it can be difficult, as you can imagine, when you're getting several thousand of these, and I think if you, and it's hard to look for that, but we do. But I'm sure some people,
they find a way.
They find a way, but that's life, right? So we do our best, and I think I'm pretty I've been doing this, like I said, 10 years at USD, and I think the vast majority of students are doing it the right way. And they trust the process. They have good intentions, and so I think especially applying to a university like USD, because we are pretty relational. We know our students, and I think I've been pretty comfortable of where we're at with that.
Thank you so much. So, of course, students have also asked about. I know most of them, they faced these loan institutions denying them loans, right? What would you probably say could be the reason why a student, an international student, is being denied a loan? Because in my mind, these people, they're into business. Because when we give the money to you, you're going to pay us back with some sort of interest, either compound or probably interest, simple interest or whatever it is. But what do you think could be actually the reason why these loan institutions or financing companies, they seem to deny these international students sometimes?
So I would say if they're in the United States, it is those like U.S. loans, they tend to be more conservative. So what I see, we work with, for example, Empower Financing, Prodigy Financing are the big two. They were on their approved list, and they work with our financial aid office. What they tend to look at is more of the type of degree a student's going to, a STEM OPT where you get 3 years. If they're loaning $25,000 and then you're working for 3 years making US dollars after graduation, the odds of you being able to pay that off are pretty high. I mean, we know what STEM, like computer science graduates, are earning. Like if you can make those payments, if it's 1 year and it's $25,000 and then maybe go home, like is that when students go home, are they able to then earning local dollars, but they're earning local currency, but paying off a US dollar loan, that can be difficult. But I have not heard personally a lot of students getting denied loans from like Empower and Prodigy. It does happen. Usually it seems the STEM or non-STEM is what's common. Loans within a country, there's the secured loans and unsecured. So secured loans are a bit easier, where it's like, well, hey, if we don't pay the loan, the bank comes and takes the house, it's, and then unsecured, it's like, well, we're just going to give you the money and hope you pay it back. So unsecured, I could see that being riskier, but I'm not an expert in this area, but I think that's just my general understanding of where we're.
Is there any way that maybe, because some students may be expecting that, or maybe the international office can help me secure a loan? Do you think that could be?
That is not something we're able to do. Mostly because the companies are international, like in the student's home country, and so we don't know enough about the banking system and how that works. And we have students from 71 countries, applicants from over 100. It's, there's only so many of us, right?
Okay, so guys, if this is your first time actually joining us, please, if you have any question, please just go ahead and put it up in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel. We'll be posting these on this channel and also on the international offices channel also. So if you have any question, just make sure that you hit the subscribe button and also just leave a comment or question there. Be rest assured that the team will be there to reply to any of your questions. Now that we know that our ISRT is blasted up, so I want to quickly dive into this important part. Based on your experience at the U.S. Embassy, I'm sure by now you're wondering, McCray, how were you able to work at the U.S. Embassy? What would you think could be some of the factors that constitute to a student's denial or approval, just generally? Because a student may be thinking that before I came for the interview, the consulate, they were able to go through my DS-160, they were able to review this, and I didn't even know. I came, they asked me just 2 questions, and then they denied me, like, have you been to the US before? Where is your father? And then they denied me. Like, what happened?
So I'll say my answers will be from my conversations with US folks, US Embassy folks, in my capacity as Director of Gallagher Center, so I won't speak about my other internships. But so based on my conversations, when, like, for example, we do education fairs through Education USA, Anna went to USA Ghana, so she would have usually a member, somebody from the embassy, like the consular section, the visa section, comes and talks. And so based on my conversations with them, and these are all things that they talk to students about, I mean, so this is all public information. But they don't prejudge students. Ultimately, because these are very busy people. They get a lot of applications. They're not sitting at home, over a cup of coffee in the morning, reading through the DS-160. But, when an applicant comes up, right, they'll look at the application and see the DS-160. So I think that is important. A good takeaway is I think some students tend to phone it in on the DS-160. I think it's important to make sure you have accurate information, and if you can give more accurate information, give as much accurate information as possible. Obviously, it makes sense. Your DS-160 and what you are telling the visa officer, all of that makes sense. I think some students, they work with maybe recruitment agencies or something, and they might help with the DS-160. Well, if you didn't do the DS-160 yourself, you don't know, you might not know what's up there. But they don't, the visa officers approach every interview with an open mind. But ultimately what they're looking for is, does this plan make sense? So does this particular student's plan to study in the United States at a particular school, for this particular tuition fee, does this make sense that this student's gonna go there, they can afford it, have a good experience? Do OPT or not, but ultimately return to their home country. And that's what they're really looking for in those interviews.
Okay. Would you boast of the fact that USD has a high visa approval rate? Because looking at, for example, I know quite a number of students from Ghana, because that's where I'm from, who applied to the University of South Dakota. I could say that probably the ones that I know of, maybe like just 3, 4, 5 people just got denial. But apart from that, this year we had about 27 to 28 students from Ghana, and all these people, there were people that of course we were talking to, so we kind of knew they were coming, right? Would you say that USD, we have some sort of high approval, right? I
would say yes. I'm not gonna say high approval. What I will say is, this is maybe my law degree coming out of no, but it's when I benchmark us to other peer institutions, and when I have conversations, there's a country in South Asia that I won't name, but I will I can do the math when they say we had this many number of interviews, this is the number of visa we gave. It's pretty easy to figure out the denial rate. We're pretty consistently above that average. Now we of course still get denials, but I would say we are, depending on the country, a little bit better. Because I would say, students that are coming to the University of South Dakota, they've typically done their homework. We're not a household name by any stretch, right? The most common question I get is, what state is South Dakota in? We're in the state of South. So by the time a student is saying, I think USD is for me, they've already done their research. They kind of know what they're getting into, or generally. And so they're not just going to the, I'm going to a University of, I'm not going to pick on any state, but the sexy destinations, or I'm just going where 3,000 other students from my country are studying. And so they're not taking the easy path, they're taking the path less traveled. And so I think that, I don't know, I like to think anyway that comes across in the visa interview, that students aren't going in blind, they know about what they're getting into, and I think that shows in the visa interview.
So we had one other question, a student asking us to find out, she wants to come with a dependent on F2, right? What do you think these people, they can actually do for them to, get through, the visa application or whatever it is? What 1 or 2 advice would you give to them?
It's a pretty simple process to add the F2 dependent on the I-20. We just need to see additional funding. It's about, I think, $4,500.
In addition to the almost 25K that is already on there.
Correct. Yep. Because mainly just for food and clothing, and that you just show that you can financially support the dependent, and then a passport ID page. We add that to the I-20. It takes 5 minutes, and then we send it to the student. As far as at the embassy, I think the key factor is, for what visa officers ultimately are looking for is intent to return to the home country. After the legal stay in the US, get the degree, OPT, whatever. Okay, we're gonna go back. If the whole family's coming to the United States, does it
guarantee?
We have plenty of students on F2, their spouses, their kids. But they just have to be able to show, does this plan make sense? Okay, that you're gonna go. I think it's ultimately too, so we have some students that they'll get their student visa first, get settled, and then maybe the spouse and the child will come later. Yes, of course, I've seen students F2s denied, but generally, I think visa officers are kind people, and they, again, if this plan makes sense, they know, like, okay, that's gonna.
Because usually, I'm also of the view that if I'm coming to the US and then they ask me, like, what are your plans, after, basically just to find out about my home ties, right? For example, let's say if I have a kid or a wife back home, they know that for sure this man is probably not going to come up. But if I'm coming with my wife, I'm coming with my kid and stuff like that, what's the reason? Because you find a job and that's it. Wouldn't that also constitute a denial or something for the person?
No, not necessarily. I've had I had a student that he brought him and his wife and I think 2 or 3 kids, and they got their visas. And
wow.
But I think there it comes down to, he was a PhD chemistry student, had pretty good funding, and so it kind of it showed that he could take care of them while they're here. And so I think that's kind of especially who I think that's the biggest thing is I think funding, but also like the government, we want to make sure that we keep families together and all those sorts of things. But that's what I do see. I think getting settled first and then coming with the child. But also if it's a deal breaker, like, hey, if my kid doesn't get a visa, I'm not coming, then we might as well go in together at the same time. And but I think each student is different, and that's where we would just ask students to communicate with us, and we'll try and give the best advice we can. But each student's situation is different. So
one other question we normally receive from this perspective, personally this week it's been so much, they asking that, okay, McCray, can I come to Vermilion? Can I go and work somewhere else? Can I work off campus and stuff like that? When you tell them that, okay, you are required by compliance, as Andrea will always say, to do 20 hours every week, but maybe while school is not in session, you can probably do 40 hours and plus or stuff like that if you have the availability to do. But they're like, people are doing stuff like that. These are questions from some perspective.
Right.
So I want to take it from that angle. What are the repercussions for a student who probably now gets here and then the international office has been tipped off, maybe with an information that, there is this kid, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the person is working at Walmart, and very well, Patrick, you give I-20 to this student. And then here you are in Walmart, and for example, that's if it is McCray, it's not me.
Right. I know, people are saying. Yeah.
So you come, and I'm the one, like, I'm the teller over there.
Right.
Like, you're like, McCray, what's happening? What's up? Are you here?
Yeah.
What could be the repercussion that a student will face like that?
So I would say, in 10 years, I don't think I've ever had to have this situation, because again, going back to students, by and large, are doing things the right way. Also, employers, when you go to apply for a job, like when you got your graduate assistantship, right, you had to go to the human resources office on campus and show your I-20 and so Walmart, if you go to a Walmart and apply for a job, okay, one, social security number. You might have one for your on-campus job, but then they're going to say, okay, show me your work authorization. Okay. Well, and you're not going to have one, so Walmart's not going to hire you, right? So these companies, so it's actually pretty hard, to work under the table unless, you're getting paid in cash or those sorts of things. And so we really don't have any way of knowing that. But it is a pretty, because this is federal immigration law, right? And federal employment law, right? Is you're allowed to work on campus for 20 hours. You can work off campus after 1 year in your field of study, but you just have to get authorization from our office. And so I always tell students, like, is it, is the $50 or what, a couple $100 a month or week you're earning by this job, is that worth your entire future in the U.S.?
Something.
I mean, because the repercussions would be if I'll leave what the federal government might do. But for our obligation is that we have to cancel an I-20 and you have to leave the country in 24 hours.
So the moment you cancel the student's I-20, is it you, Andrea, somebody who is going to report to USCIS? So the system where we would have the I-20 is the Student Exchange Visitor Information System, SEVIS. So a lot of federal agencies so we create the record, right, the I-20. State Department sees that, Customs and Border Patrol when you enter the country, Homeland Security, Social Security Office sees that when they're issuing a SSN. So by us, terminating an I-20 for unauthorized employment, it would reflect over there.
Basically be show up on somebody's report, and they would do that. But yeah, so the repercussion would be students have to depart the country in 24 hours.
24 hours, even before they knock at your door.
They, like I said, this never happened. So this is my my understanding of the compliance regulations. But it happens incredibly rarely, I would say, at other institutions. But Yeah. So guys, if you have any question, once again, please put it up in the comment section. We have the international office. We have an Instagram platform that is USDINTL that we post many of the things that are basically happening on campus, particularly event organized by the office and also by the student community. It may be some sort of, international club event, or maybe African Student Association event. The Asia, that is the, how do you call it? I think Asia Students in America, that is the abbreviation of the name. They have all events over there. So sometimes when things like that happen, we put it all out there so that, you can get to see what is happening here on campus. So now we will not get into life here at USD. So let's now talk about the student support and resources created by the Gallagher International Center. So we wanted to find out, so what initiatives, does the international office actually offer to help the international student adjust to campus life and also, integrate to the university community here as a whole?
Yeah, so I could think of a few things. So firstly, from just our general, not only do we do the compliance stuff, right, which is very important. We want to advise students and make sure that everything's going smoothly, right, with their immigration status. But we do cultural adjustments. So we hold orientations, spring and fall orientations. We do trips like to Sioux Falls around winter coat season for students to go buy a winter coat, or do other shopping. We went out to the Black Hills. I think you went out there.
I was there.
So I don't know if that's made on the YouTube channel, but
it's on there already.
Okay, there we go. We do that. We 3 times a week we do the coyote assistance. The grocery runs are 2 to 3 times a week. Pick students up at the airport and drop them off at the airport at the beginning and end of every semester. And and generally, I just kind of a sounding board. We'll get students that come in and I got this notice, or I got this email, I'm not really sure where to go, or I have this problem, but which office or place in town is best for us. So we do all that. It's if you can think of it, we do it.
Okay, so what about just trying to find out, are there any specific career services probably tailored to assist maybe international students to maybe with internships or maybe OPT stuff, CPT and things like that?
Right. So CPT and OPT, we have workshops, and then so Andrea and Tierney have been holding our compliance people have been actually this week had a few, and last week as well. So those are just kind of helping students with explaining the process, and then individual advising appointments for students to look over paperwork and those sorts of things. Career services, we have offices on campus. So we have an Office of Career and Life Design. The assistant vice president over that was my former boss, Susan Hackemer. So she came from the international, she was director of the Gallagher Center before myself. And so she definitely has, a really good understanding of the needs of international students. And, we've been working pretty hard of getting those opportunities out. I also like educating employers too about, yes, you can hire international students for internships, and you don't have to do any paperwork. Like the student does the paperwork internally on campus. We give the authorization. Yes, you can hire that student. Yes, you can have a student for 3 years on STEM OPT, and they do very little paperwork for that. So it's just also, that's a part of it too, is just helping employers understand that, and that 100% you can hire an international graduate.
So when it comes to job fairs and stuff like that, I've had conversations with a lot of computer science students. They're saying that they don't normally see a lot of IT firms coming there. What would you have to say about that?
So I think, yes, like Apple and Google are not showing up at your career fair, but they're not showing up at really anybody's career fair, because do they really need to? Because you'll apply to them, right? So I think it's important, when Wells Fargo Bank, First Premier Bank card, when they show up at a career fair, they need IT people too, right? They need software engineers, they need network security folks, they need all those. So I think just because it's not an IT firm doesn't mean that they're not hiring those individuals. Sanford Health and Avera Health, they hire actually quite a few of our graduates, because again, they need to make sure patient records are protected, or they have their own data science needs. So, but So
So what advice would you have for any prospective student who is currently preparing to transition into studying here, maybe at USD or US or something like that? Because this is something, of course, you've been here for so long. So what advice would you have for this prospective students? I mean, culture-wise, food, weather, what academic-wise, whatever would you have for them?
That's a good question. Not that you don't ask good questions otherwise, McCray. I would say, I think be open to new experiences. Approach it with an open mind. Also, be prepared and do the work. I think a lot of, especially when we're thinking about advising on housing or when we're giving resources, take advantage of the resources we're providing. I don't mean take advantage in a negative way. I mean, take advantage, use it for good. I think a lot of students, not a lot of students, but there are some students that, they just kind of float through the process and they don't kind of get stuck in and kind of do the work. And but ultimately, yes, it's difficult traveling around the world and there's always culture shock, but like our team, I've lived abroad, Tierney's lived abroad, Andrea's from abroad and lives here, so like we have staff that have lived that and walked that, and we have people like yourself and our international ambassadors that are also students, and so. Well,
that's it. So before we came on to, one guy was like, McCray, I have an HND, High National Diploma, and I went ahead to do 2 years top-up degree. Do you think I'm qualified for masters here at USD or something like that?
So HNDs by themselves, typically not. Now, depending on what this top-up degree is, it can sometimes bridge the gap between those two. So, if he sends us an email, we can ask, our colleague Tina, who is the expert on all things, all things credential.
So guys, we would have to just wrap it here. So once again, I said if you have any question, you can put it up in the comment section or send an email to, if you're a graduate student, still send it to isrt@usd.edu. You can copy Alex is not here, by the way, but and still copy Matthew in that. But if you are undergraduate student, a prospective student, I may say, please also send an email to ISRT and also copy Anna Stork in that, because she is the one and only lady that is fronting that for us. That kudos to you, Anna, kudos to you. She was recently in Ghana, I think in some other 5 countries in the eastern part of Africa. I was like, oh wow. And Matthew just returned from Central Asia, including Turkey. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure. Are you going anytime soon?
I leave next week for Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Tunisia, and Morocco.
Why don't I do that on your behalf?
I don't know, McCray.
Maybe we should talk to Scott Porter. Okay, so just your last word to the prospective student and also these continuing students who are just watching us. Can we hear any encouraging message, maybe in just the next 30 seconds or 20 seconds from the boss of the international office?
I would say, I'll look at the camera and do this. So I would say, studying in the United States can be daunting, it can be expensive, but I think ultimately it's finding your right fit institution, and you really buy into the process, do your homework, do your research, and find a place that you are going to be successful, you're going to do well. We're caring people. You'll find a home here in Vermilion, or if not Vermilion, anywhere else. There's just many, many great universities in the United States. And, you're welcome here.
You're welcome to USD. We wanted to be part of the youth family sometime. I know people, they said to me, McCray, don't worry, by 2025, we'll meet you at USD. I'm like, okay, meet me at USD.
We'll fly you back in for
okay. I'm actually thinking of coming back for orientation.
Okay, great. You're welcome anytime.
Anyway, so guys, I want to say thank you so much. I'm pretty sure that most of you've learned so much. You've been informed, you have been educated in most of your the questions you've sent to us. I'm sure you've received lots of answers, but then again, if something is not clear to you, please just let us know in the comment section. I want to use this opportunity to also thank my producers for today. So you can see Josiah and Sheila in the background. They have been so spectacular, helping us to understand and for you to actually view and then get a good audio, a good sound from us today. So we want to say thank you so much. Shout outs to everybody in the international office, Andrea, Matthew, Alex, Anna, Tierney, Study Abroad team. Patty is there. We need to mention the name. Come on, God help me.
Do you want me to get her on the phone?
Jessica,
yeah.
And then oh my God, Casey, please don't find
She's
me.
Gonna be,
and then Haley. I think
you got them all,
right?
Yep.
Haley, right?
Yeah.
And then to all our international ambassadors who just joined this team this semester fall 2024, thank you so much. You guys are doing so much well for us. So guys, we'll see you in the next video. Once again, shout outs to everybody. Thank you. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you.